Sometimes the greatest pain arrives not with a warning, but as a sudden collapse of everything you thought was solid. You wake up one day and realize that the life you built, the plans you made, the person you thought you were, it's all shattered into pieces on the ground. And in that moment of devastation, you stand there asking why, how did this happen to me? Where is God in all of this? This is not a question of weakness. This is not a failure of faith. This is the cry of a human being who has encountered the harsh reality that life does not always go according to our design. And I want you to understand something fundamental right from this moment. When life breaks you, it is not a punishment. It is a message. It is a redirection. It is in fact an opportunity for Allah to rebuild you into something far greater than what you were before. We live in a society that has taught us to fear brokenness. We have been conditioned to hide our pain, to smile through our struggles, to present a version of ourselves that is constantly winning, constantly succeeding, constantly unbroken. But this is a dangerous lie. This is a fabrication that distances us from truth and from the very purpose of our existence. The reality is this: every single person who has ever achieved anything meaningful in this world has been broken at some point. Every single one. The difference between those who rise and those who remain crushed is not that some are stronger than others. It is that some understand the purpose behind the breaking, while others are consumed by the pain of it. You see, Allah does not break us for the sake of breaking. There is wisdom in every trial. There is purpose in every difficulty. And when you truly grasp this, when you truly believe this deep within your heart, everything changes. The pain does not disappear, but your relationship with the pain transforms entirely. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a piece of gold ore, rough and embedded in rock. That ore is valuable, yes, but it has not yet become what it is meant to be. Now imagine the process of refinement. The ore must be extracted from the rock. It must be crushed. It must be heated to extreme temperature. It must be burned and purified. From the perspective of the ore, this process is violent and destructive. But from the perspective of the refiner, this process is essential and beautiful. Because without this breaking, without this burning, the gold will never shine. It will never reach its full potential. This is exactly what happens when life breaks you. You are not being destroyed. You are being refined. You are being prepared. You are being transformed from your raw, unfinished state into something that will eventually shine with a light that only comes through the fire of struggle. Now, I understand that understanding this intellectually is different from feeling it in your bones when you are in the midst of pain. When you have just lost something precious, when you have just experienced a betrayal, when you have just failed at something that mattered to you. In those moments, philosophy feels hollow. In those moments, you do not want to hear that there is wisdom in your suffering. You want relief. You want the pain to stop. And I am not here to tell you that the pain will stop immediately. I am not here to give you false hope that everything will be resolved by tomorrow. But I am here to tell you something far more valuable. I am here to tell you that your pain has meaning. I am here to tell you that your breaking is not the end of your story. It is a turning point. Think about the people throughout history who have left the greatest legacy. Think about the prophets, the leaders, the scholars, the change makers, the people who transformed their societies and left marks that lasted for centuries. Almost every single one of them experienced profound brokenness. They were tested. They were tried. They were broken in ways that seemed unbearable at the time. What was the difference between those who became legends and those who became footnotes? The difference was this: they did not run from their brokenness. They did not try to hide it or deny it. They accepted it. They sat with it. They allowed themselves to be remade by it. And in that acceptance, they discovered something extraordinary. They discovered that they were stronger than they knew. They discovered that they had capacities within them that they had never accessed before. They discovered that their pain had given them wisdom that only pain can give. This is what I want you to understand about your current situation, whatever it may be, whether you have lost your job, whether you have lost a relationship, whether you have lost your health, whether you have lost your sense of direction, whatever has broken you, understand that this is not the final chapter. This is not the conclusion. This is the setup for something great. But here is the critical part. You must do your work. Allah rebuilds, yes, but you are not a passive bystander in this process. You are an active participant in your own transformation. Let me explain what I mean. When a building is destroyed, it does not rebuild itself. There must be workers. There must be architects. There must be people who show up every single day and do the work of reconstruction. Similarly, when you are broken, you cannot simply wait for Allah to magically put you back together. you must engage in your own rebuild. This rebuilding process has several components, and I want to walk through each one with you. First, there is the component of acknowledgement. You must acknowledge your brokenness. You must stop pretending that you are fine when you are not fine. You must stop hiding your pain behind a facade of strength. This is not weakness. This is honesty. And honesty is the foundation of all real growth. When you acknowledge that you are broken, you give yourself permission to actually address the brokenness. When you deny it, when you pretend it is not there, you simply carry the weight of it in silence, and that weight only grows heavier. I have met so many people who have spent years, sometimes decades, running from their pain. They stay busy. They distract themselves. They numb themselves with whatever numbing agents are available to them. And what happens? The pain does not go away. It simply gets buried deeper. And eventually it manifests in ways that are far more destructive than if they had simply sat with it in the first place. So your first act of courage is this: acknowledge where you are broken. Say it out loud. Write it down. Let yourself feel it fully. This is not self-pity. This is self-awareness. And self-awareness is the gateway to transformation. Second, there is the component of surrender. And I want to be very clear about what I mean by this word, because surrender is often misunderstood. Surrender does not mean passivity. Surrender does not mean giving up. Surrender means releasing your death grip on the outcome. It means accepting that there are things beyond your control. And it means putting your trust in something greater than yourself. Many of us spend our entire lives trying to control our circumstances, trying to force things to go our way, trying to manipulate outcomes to match the vision we have in our heads. And this approach works sometimes in small ways. But when life breaks you, truly breaks you, you discover that control is an illusion. You cannot control whether someone leaves you. You cannot control whether a disease strikes you. You cannot control whether an opportunity disappears. These things happen, and they happen outside the realm of your control. The question then becomes, will you spend your time and energy fighting against reality, or will you accept reality and work with it? This is where the concept of surrender becomes revolutionary. When you surrender, when you say, I am broken and I do not know how to fix this, and I am putting my trust in Allah to guide me through this, something inside you shifts. The desperate, grasping energy that was consuming you begins to ease. And in that space of ease, clarity emerges. In that space of surrender, you become capable of seeing possibilities that your fear and desperation were blinding you to before. Think about it this way. Imagine you are drowning in the ocean. You are panicking, thrashing, fighting the water with all your might. And in your panic, you are exhausting yourself, pulling yourself deeper. But imagine that instead you relax, you surrender to the water, you allow yourself to float, and suddenly the water that was drowning you becomes the very thing that holds you up. This is the paradox of surrender. Third, there is the component of reflection. When you have been broken, you have been given an extraordinary opportunity to examine your life, not in a way that is filled with self-blame and guilt, but in a way that is filled with curiosity and learning. Ask yourself, what led me to this? What patterns have I been repeating? What beliefs about myself or about the world need to be reconsidered? What have I learned about my own capacity to endure? Many times when we are broken, it is because we were headed in a direction that was not aligned with our true purpose. Our breaking is a course correction. It is life, or more accurately, Allah saying to us, you are going the wrong way. Here is a reality check. Here is an opportunity to reconsider. This does not mean that every breaking is a punishment for something you did wrong, but it does mean that every breaking is an invitation to look more carefully at how you are living. I once knew a man who had built a very successful business. He was wealthy, he had status, he had everything that society told him he should want, and then he lost it all. A series of circumstances led to the collapse of his business, and he found himself starting from nothing. And I remember him telling me, months into this period of brokenness, I thought this was the worst thing that could happen to me. But now I realize it was the best thing that could happen to me. Because in losing everything external, I found something internal. I found myself. I found out who I really am when I have nothing to hide behind. And that person is someone I actually respect. This is the gift of reflection. When you are broken and you take the time to truly examine your life, you often discover that the breaking was not an end, it was a beginning. Fourth, there is the component of patience. This is perhaps the most difficult component, because patience requires you to trust in a timeline that is not your own. It requires you to accept that healing and rebuilding take time. There is no fast track to genuine transformation. There is no shortcut to real strength. We live in a culture of instant gratification. We want everything now. We want our problems solved yesterday. We want to skip over the difficult middle part and jump straight to the happy ending. But this is not how real change works. Real change is slow. Real change is gradual. Real change happens through countless small actions and decisions that over time accumulate into something significant. When you are broken, you must be patient with yourself. You must not expect that you will be healed by next week or next month. You must understand that this is a process that might take years. And yet you must also understand that every single day, every single moment that you are actively engaged in your own rebuilding, you are progressing, you are moving forward, you are becoming something new. Patience is not passivity. Patience is persistent action over an extended period of time, even when the results are not immediately visible. This is the kind of patience I am talking about. Fifth, there is the component of connection. One of the most destructive things we can do when we are broken is to isolate ourselves. We feel ashamed. We feel like we have failed. We feel like we should have been able to handle this on our own. So we retreat. We hide. We suffer in silence. But this is a profound mistake, because human beings are not designed to heal alone. We are social creatures. We are meant to be in relationship with one another. And when we are broken, we need more connection, not less. We need people who can sit with us in our pain without trying to fix it. We need people who can remind us of our worth when we have lost sight of it. We need people who can share their own stories of brokenness and rebuilding so that we know we are not alone in our struggle. I want you to understand something. The most courageous thing you can do is to reach out, to say to someone you trust, I am broken, I am struggling, I need help. This is not weakness, this is strength, this is wisdom, because you are recognizing that you are not meant to carry this alone. And as you connect with others, as you allow others into your pain, you often discover something remarkable. You discover that brokenness is universal. You discover that almost everyone you know has been broken at some point. And in that discovery, something shifts. Your pain becomes less isolating. It becomes less shameful. It becomes part of the common human experience. And that makes it more bearable. Sixth, there is the component of faith. And by faith, I do not necessarily mean religious faith, though that is certainly valuable. I mean something broader. I mean faith in the process. I mean faith that even though you cannot see it right now, there is something being built inside you through this experience. I mean faith that your life has not ended, even though it feels like it has. I mean faith that there is meaning to be found, even in the darkest moments. This kind of faith is not blind. It is not wishful thinking. It is grounded in the reality of how human beings grow and develop. We grow through challenge. We develop through adversity. The easy times in our lives teach us very little. It is the difficult times that forge us, that shape us, that make us into who we are truly capable of becoming. So when you have faith, when you say, I believe that I will emerge from this and I believe that I will be better for it, you are not denying reality. You are affirming something that is true about the nature of human growth. Seventh, there is the component of purpose. One of the most dangerous things that can happen when we are broken is that we lose our sense of purpose. We had a plan, and the plan fell apart. We had a direction, and the direction became unclear. And without a sense of purpose, we simply drift in our pain. But here is what I want you to know. Your purpose does not disappear just because your circumstances have changed. In fact, your breaking often clarifies your purpose. When you lose everything else, when you strip away all the external markers of success and status and achievement, you are left with something essential. You are left with a question, who am I really? And what do I actually care about? The answer to this question is your true purpose, not the purpose that your parents told you to have, not the purpose that society expects of you, but the purpose that is uniquely yours, that emerges from the deepest part of your being. And when you reconnect with this true purpose, when you understand that your life is not ultimately about achieving external success, but about becoming a better human being, about serving others, about contributing something meaningful to the world. When you understand this, your breaking becomes a pivot point. It becomes the moment when you stop pursuing false purposes and started pursuing your real one. Finally, there is the component of action. After you have acknowledged your pain, surrendered to what you cannot control, reflected on what you have learned, been patient with yourself, connected with others, had faith and reconnected with your purpose, then you must act. You must show up. You must do the work. You must take the next step even when you are not sure what the step after that will be. Many people get stuck in the phase of reflection. They spend months or years analyzing their pain, journaling about their pain, talking about their pain, but they never actually move past. They use reflection as a way to avoid action. But reflection without action is just rumination, and rumination is just another form of suffering. So you must act. You must start moving. Even in small ways, you must begin to rebuild. You must begin to create a new life that is perhaps different from the life you imagined, but that is no less valuable, no less meaningful, no less full of possibility. Now I want to address something that might be occurring to you as I am speaking. You might be thinking, this is all well and good in theory, but my pain is specific. My situation is unique. I have lost something that I cannot replace. How is any of this supposed to help me? And I want to be honest with you. I cannot tell you that the specific loss you have experienced will not hurt. I cannot tell you that you will ever stop missing what you have lost. I cannot tell you that the broken parts of your life will be repaired in exactly the way you would prefer them to be. What I can tell you is this: you will survive this. You are stronger than you know. And although you will not get back what you have lost, you will gain something else. You will gain wisdom. You will gain resilience. You will gain a depth of character that only comes through suffering. You will gain an expanded capacity to love, to forgive, to appreciate, to understand the suffering of others. These are not small things. These are the things that actually matter in a human life. These are the things that turn a person into someone who has real worth, real depth, real substance. Think about the people you most respect and admire. I would wager that many of them have been through significant difficulty. They have been broken. They have struggled. And it is that struggle more than anything else that has made them admirable. I remember reading about a woman who had survived a terrible accident that left her paralyzed. In the aftermath, she went through a period of deep depression. She thought her life was over. She thought that without the ability to walk, without the ability to do all the things she used to do, her life had no meaning. But then something shifted. She began to understand that she had been given an opportunity to discover what her life was really about. And through her struggle, through her brokenness, she discovered a capacity for joy and meaning that had nothing to do with her physical abilities. She became a mentor to other people who had experienced similar injuries. She wrote, she lived a life that was in many ways far more meaningful than the life she had lived before the accident. This is what can happen when you do not resist your breaking, when you do not insist that things should be different, when you accept what has happened and ask, what is it calling me to become? You see, there is a force in this universe. You can call it Allah, you can call it the universe, you can call it life itself, that is constantly trying to evolve you, to grow you, to bring you toward your highest potential. And sometimes the only way that force can get your attention, the only way it can redirect you, is to break you, to take away the things you are clinging to shatter the false versions of yourself that you have constructed, to bring you to a place of desperation where you finally become willing to change, to grow, to become something new. This is not punishment. This is love. This is an act of profound care from the universe, from Allah, from the force of life itself. It is saying to you, I know you are comfortable in your brokenness. I know you have built an identity around your limitations, but I see who you could become, and I am willing to break you because I love you too much to leave you as you are. When you understand this, when you truly understand it, you can begin to approach your pain with a different attitude, not with gratitude necessarily, not yet, but with a kind of acceptance, a kind of openness, a kind of willingness to see what this breaking is trying to teach. Let me tell you something about the rebuilding process that is important. The rebuilding will not look like the original construction. The new building that is erected where the old one stood will not be identical to what was there before. It may be different. It may be better in some ways and different in others. You must make peace with this. Many of us spend years grieving what we have lost, resisting the new reality, insisting that things should return to how they were. And this is natural. This is human. But it is also a way of prolonging your suffering. At some point, and only you will know when you are ready, you must stop looking backward at what was lost and start looking forward at what can be built. You must stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what does this make possible? You must stop resisting the present moment and start embracing it. This is not about forgetting what was. It is about honoring what was while simultaneously moving into what is become. I want to tell you about resilience, because resilience is what you are actually developing right now, in this moment, as you go through your breaking. Resilience is not the absence of pain. Resilience is the capacity to experience pain and keep moving anyway. Resilience is the ability to get knocked down and stand back up. Resilience is what gets built in the space between your falling and your rising. And here is what is important. Everyone has resilience. It is not something that only special people are born with. It is something that is cultivated. It is something that is strengthened through use, like a muscle. Every time you have gone through something difficult and come out the other side, you have built resilience. Every time you have failed and tried again, you have built resilience. Every time you have been disappointed and continued anyway, you have built resilience. And right now, in this moment, when you are broken, you are in the process of building resilience on a scale you may not fully appreciate yet. Years from now, when you have moved past this period, you will look back at this time and you will see that it was a crucible. It was a place where you were forged. It was the fire in which your character was tempered, and you will be grateful for it, even though right now you cannot imagine being grateful. I knew a man once who had experienced a profound loss. He had lost his business, his marriage, and his health all within the span of a year. When I first met him, he was in the depths of despair. He could not imagine ever being happy again. He could not imagine his life ever being meaningful again. But he did something that was crucial. He accepted his situation. He stopped fighting against what had happened. And he started asking himself, what can I do today? What is the next small step I can take? And he took that step. And it was painful, but he took it anyway. And the next day, he asked the same question and took another step. And this went on, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And gradually, so gradually that he almost did not notice it, his life began to change. Not back to what it was. It never went back to what it was, but forward to something new. And when I saw him many years later, he told me that he would not go back, even if he could, because the breaking had been necessary. The breaking had taught him what mattered. The breaking had made him who he was meant to be. This is what is possible for you. The rebuilding process requires you to get clear on a few things. First, you must get clear on your values, not the values that have been imposed on you by your family, by your culture, by your society, but your true values, what actually matters to you. What would you choose to do or be even if no one else ever knew about it? These are your real values. And once you know them, you can align your life around them. Second, you must get clear on your capabilities. What are you actually capable of? Not what you think you should be capable of. Not what others have told you that you should be capable of, but what you actually, genuinely have the ability to do. The breaking often reveals our true capabilities, because it strips away all the false confidence and false limitations we have been operating with. Third, you must get clear on your boundary. You must know what you will accept and what you will not accept. You must know what is negotiable and what is not. You must know where you end and others begin. Many of us do not have good boundaries because we have never been broken in a way that forced us to develop them. As you answer these questions, as you get clear on your values, your capabilities, and your boundaries, you begin to rebuild not just your life, but your sense of self. You begin to construct an identity that is not based on external markers, on your job, your relationships, your accomplishments, but on who you actually are at your core. And this is profoundly valuable because external things can be taken away. Your job can disappear, your relationship can end, your status can evaporate. But who you are at your core, your values, your character, your integrity, this is something that cannot be taken away from you. This is something that remains even when everything else is gone. When you have this foundation, when you know who you really are, you have something that no circumstance can shake. You can face any challenge because you are rooted in something deeper than your circumstances. The rebirth is painful, just like physical birth is painful. But the pain is productive. The pain is purposeful. The pain is creating something new. When you fully grasp this, when you move from intellectual understanding to deep knowing, your entire relationship with your pain transforms. You stop seeing it as something to get away from and start seeing it as something to move through. You stop running and start walking with intention toward whatever is on the other side. And what is on the other side? A version of yourself that you cannot yet imagine. A life that looks different from what you expected, but that may be far richer in meaning and purpose. A capacity for joy that is deeper because it is grounded in real understanding of what really matters. This is what it means when life breaks you and Allah is rebuilding you. It is not a punishment. It is not a mistake. It is an invitation. An invitation to become more fully yourself. An invitation to discover capacities within you that you did not know you possessed. An invitation to live a life that is rooted in something real, something deep, something that actually lasts. And so as you go through this time of brokenness, I want to leave you with this. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Reach out, ask for help, cry, feel your feelings fully. The work of rebuilding. Trust the process and know that on the other side of this breaking, there is something waiting for you. Something that you cannot quite see from where you are standing right now, but something that is real and valuable and worth the journey to reach it. You are going to be okay. Not because everything is going to magically fix itself, but because you are going to fix yourself. You are going to rebuild. You are going to rise. And when you look back on this time, years from now, you will understand that it was necessary. You will see that this breaking was exactly what you needed to become who you were always meant to be.